doing very well this Saturday evening. Well, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be doing very, very well because yet again, the inconsistency of the Premier League and the race for top four has revealed and played the perfect hand for Solskjaer. And now he faces his biggest test and his biggest week for Manchester United with the Manchester derby coming up and Spurs away next week. Manchester United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer really could be on the cusp of a lucky 2020 when everything else in the world seems to be going pear-shaped. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's career at Manchester United has taken a real positive turn over the last month, and you just feel that tomorrow with this game or today if you're watching it on the Sunday, this Manchester derby really could be a pivotal point for Manchester United. You look at the league table and you look at the results today, and look, I know Arsenal beat West Ham. They were a bit lucky, but look at Arsenal's fixtures. They're not doing anything. They're not. They might have a couple of winnable games, but when the going gets tough, they're going to fold like a deck chair, and they've got a very, very difficult April. Wolves have just drawn at home to Brighton. That was their opportunity. Sheffield United, look, they've got a nosebleed. They're doing fantastically well. We'll be talking about Dean Henderson in a minute, but they're not going to do it either. Spurs can't do it either. It's really us or Chelsea. And you look at that league table, and if Chelsea don't win tomorrow and we can, or we can just stay close to them, this top four, look, I even tweeted it earlier. I got a bit of stick for it. I said, if you can't get top four, and realistically, it's Mourinho, Solskjaer and Lampard, to be fair. If you can't get top four, you can't complain if you get sacked in the summer. Now, Lampard's not going to get sacked because he's not had a transfer ban, and I doubt Mourinho would either. And I don't even know that Ole would. But Jesus, this top four race, it's painful. It's bloody painful at times. Nobody's consistent. It's got the consistency of concrete. There's just no consistency there at all. And you look at the points total, and we are over 3/4 of the points through the Premier League season. And I tell you what, 72 points normally gets you top four. I think it could be as low as 60. 60 points could get you fourth spot this year. That is ridiculous. A ridiculous situation. And look, I just think Solskjaer's got luck behind his side, and I think that with Bruno there and Pogba coming back and a bit of positivity from United, it's almost been served up on a plate for them. But we've got to deliver, and we've got a very big week. And I think the Manchester derby now, as long as Chelsea don't win tomorrow, and the way the results have gone today, why would they? As long as Chelsea doesn't win tomorrow, I think a draw in the derby wouldn't be terrible. It wouldn't be terrible. A win would be magnifique. We would have pretty much have fourth in our hands, because if we can't go to Spurs and win next week, we really are a bad side. They're bloody awful. They're there for the beating. But massive test for Solskjaer in the next two Premier League games. And I personally think, I don't know what you lot think, I personally think that if you're offering me the Europa League, the FA Cup, or fourth in the Premier League, let's just go and take fourth in the Premier League. I know cups are nice, but cups are at the end of the season, and if you bottle it, you're empty-handed. Go and get fourth. It's nailed on. And if we get a trophy as well, that would be great. But realistically, let's go and get that fourth spot. And interestingly enough, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did an interview. I think it was with NBC. He was talking about the future at Manchester United. And basically, these are his words, but very interesting. He says, convincing, attacking, free-flowing football with flair is what we want at Manchester United. Convincing, attacking, free-flowing football with flair. It's like the antidote to what he's actually done this season. But I tell you what, that's music to my ears. That's classic Queen, because I want Manchester United to play that. And I think that it's very easy to be cynical and say, well, you know, he doesn't do anything like that, Mark, does he? And look, I'll put my hands up. I'll put my hands up. I'll play devil's advocate here. The football we've played this season has been anything other than convincing, attacking, free-flowing football with flair. It's been unconvincing, defensive, negative football with custard. It's not been good enough. It has. I couldn't think of anything to contact. What's the opposite of flair? Custard. Some people like custard, but there's not a lot of flair in custard. There's custard in a toffee pudding, lovely. Custard with in a trifle, lovely. But custard on its own, it lacks va-va-voom. It lacks flair. And I think United this season. I mean, somebody actually messaged me yesterday and said, oh, you know what? You're always going on that United sit back and hit teams on the break. We haven't scored a goal on the counter since the middle of December. And I just went, right, bye, not replying to you. Even though I did tell them I wasn't going to reply to them, so I sort of contradicted myself there. But I've never seen a stat in my life that we haven't scored a counter-attacking goal since the middle of December. I almost was intrigued to say, Please, can you write this up on an Excel spreadsheet just to get them to spend an hour doing it? Then I could print it off and burn it and send them the video of me burning it, because I've never seen a stat in my life to tell you what isn't and is a counter-attacking football goal. Look, you know, a traditional counter-attacking football is somebody attacks you and you hit them on the break. But to say we haven't scored a goal like that since mid-December, I can think of 2 or 3 straight away off the top of my head. But there you go. The point is, I think you always look at a season as an overarching thing, and I think we would all agree with the back fives and some of the performances against Newcastle and Watford and Bournemouth. We have been a team that doesn't really deliver when we go on the front foot. But that's changed over the last month. I've got to say, it's changed over the last month. We've looked better on the front foot because we've got a number 10. And that was always the problem before Christmas. I don't know why people get defensive about United fans being constructive about the problems. You know what? I actually would sit here and say, what's your... I'm getting stumbled here because this is what happens when I get frustrated. What's your point, people? What's your point? Like, when you're messaging me and telling me, well, you're always saying that we play counter-attacking football and it's crap. Well, I'll tell you what, we haven't scored one of those goals since mid-December. What's your point? Get to your point. Instead of trying to score points off me, what's your point? Because every United fan who sat here saying the last month's been good, which we all are, but the first 6 months were really negative and poor, surely that is the fan you want to talk to, because we've got our lowest points total in the Premier League so far. There's got to be a reason for that. And when you get people who try to justify why we've got our lowest points Premier League total in the country in Premier League history, you start to wonder, what are they sniffing? Because you've got to accept there's been a problem to come back from the problem and own the fact that we've got our lowest Premier League points total, and own the fact that we've lost to Palace at home, that we lost to Burnley at home, that we've lost to Watford, Newcastle, Bournemouth, and God knows, the list is so big. So there has to be a reason to the end of January why that happened. And the reason is we played negative counter-attacking football. Since Bruno's come in, it's been more on the front foot. And a lot of why we played negative football was because we had Lingard or Pereira or Mata. We were a mint with a hole. We had no number 10. Now we've got a number 10. It doesn't surprise me that we play more attractive football, because with a number 10, I used to say this about Rooney, they're the focal point. They are the attacking focal point. If you haven't got a number 10, you're going to struggle. And I think that you've got to lose to win. You've got to fall to climb. You know, you've got to slip to, I don't know. I should have stopped when I was ahead. But you have got to fall to climb. And I think to have our lowest points total, there's got to be, if there's not a reason for it, and if there's not a reason to deconstruct it, then who are we? We may as well just be Everton. We're Manchester United. We want to win titles. Why have we got our lowest Premier League total? Because of the things we did at the start of the season that we're hopefully going to rectify in the last few months of the season with people like Bruno Fernandes. And I've just sort of gone around the houses there to say, look, I put my hands up to the Ollie Outers and say, you're right. Some of the football this season's been dreadful. Some of the coaching's been dreadful. But when the manager says, I want United to play convincing, attacking, free-flowing football with flair, so do I. So do you. And he doesn't need to say that. He doesn't need to say that. He could just say, we're going down the right direction. We want to win trophies. We want to get United back where they are. He doesn't need to put the cherry on the cake and say, give us what we want. We want convincing, attacking, free-flowing football. And I've always struggled with that with Solskjaer, because Solskjaer is he's part of Manchester United. He played under Sir Alex Ferguson. He knows what we're all about. So I think he does want to do it, and it's music to the ears, like I say, that he does want to do it. The question is, can he do it? And that is the question. Can he do it? And I think that if he beats Pep Guardiola tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, whatever you want to call it, if he beats Pep Guardiola in the Manchester derby, he'll have beaten him 3 times out of 4 this season. You've got to take that into account. Pep's not coming with a weakened team tomorrow. Pep's coming to win. I still think on their day, Man City are the best team in England. They're not, because Liverpool are totally deserving. And I was saying this earlier, I think Man City remind me of Arsenal versus United in the late 90s. On their day, Arsenal were a better footballing team than us, but they didn't win trophies because we had a stronger work ethic, we were a better team, and we were a good footballing side. And that's what's happened to Liverpool and Man City this year. But Man City on their day, I think, are still a fantastic football team, and they're coming to win tomorrow. So if we do get a result against them tomorrow, however you want to dress it up, you can't move away from the fact that Solskjaer's beat Pep 3 times out of 4. So massive, massive game tomorrow. I'm excited about it. I don't know why people aren't as excited about it. I'm just not feeling it. The press aren't all over it. I think they're all worried about this bloody virus. It's not getting the build-up that it should do. It's a big, big game. The Manchester derby. It's Manchester United versus Manchester City in a very, 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 very intriguing game. Wesley Killen. I'm just going to come into this now because I do need to get into it. Harvey says he's watching Ozark. And he's loving it. Well done. Harvey says... not Harvey. What was his name? Wesley Killen says De Gea is not leaving. Now, I would side with you, Wesley, but I give you the news. Some of it I will say is a load of nonsense, but some of it I will always back up and say that we might want to keep an eye on this. We might want to keep an eye on this. David De Gea to Real Madrid for £70 million. We might want to keep an eye on this because it's coming from the Sun. Listen. What do I always say about the Sun? If you run out of toilet paper, it's there. But no, seriously. Well, no, it is. I don't have a lot of love for the Sun, like many football fans don't. But in fairness, it's his choice to work for them. But when it comes to Manchester United, Neil Custis is quite a reliable United source. Not always. But I've been doing this for years. I've been reading some of his articles for years. And not on the Sun. I normally see them on people like, these aggregators putting them out there. And he does get stuff right. So he's clearly got the ear of somebody at United. It doesn't mean he's right on this, but it is always worth... My ears do prick up and I think, whenever I see it, I think, right, who's wrote the article? Neil Custis has wrote this article that Real Madrid would like to replace their current goalkeeper and bring David De Gea to Real Madrid for £70 million. Now, I would go with Wesley and say there's no chance De Gea leaves. He's only just signed a new contract. But there is a chance De Gea leaves if Real Madrid want David De Gea. He's always wanted to go back and play in Spain. He's always wanted to go and play in Madrid. Atletico Madrid will never be able to pay for him. He nearly went to Real Madrid before. If Real Madrid genuinely want De Gea, I think De Gea would be open to that move. And if De Gea is open to a move, as I've always said, if a player wants to go, you let them go. I don't think De Gea will go because I think Real Madrid won't be in for him, and I think De Gea has signed a long-term contract and he will be here. But it does feed into quite an interesting thing on this show. If this was to happen, and who's to say it won't or will happen, but it is interesting that it's popped up at this time of year where Madrid may be looking for a better goalkeeper than their current one. If Real Madrid did look at De Gea, and De Gea did make moves to say I want to go, and Real Madrid said to Manchester United, we'll give you £70 million, I would take the money. And I'm a massive fan of De Gea. I would take the money because that would be £70 million to spend that we're not going to get anywhere else. Like, Pogba can go and we might get 100 and something, but that 70 million, we don't need to replace the goalkeeper because Dean Henderson would just come in and be our goalkeeper. He was absolutely... he's been brilliant all season. I don't know how good this goalkeeper can be, but you can't argue with a goalkeeper that's playing week in, week out in the Premier League and is one of the best goalkeepers in the league. Now, I wouldn't replace De Gea with Henderson and put De Gea on the bench. But if De Gea did want to go, it would be a decent decision for United to go, look, we can't keep him, 70 million, Henderson, come and have a go. It's hypothetical, but I mean, he won man of the match again. Sheffield United won 1-0 today against Norwich, and Norwich probably deserved a point, but Dean Henderson was absolutely fantastic. So it's just one, I don't really want to go too deep into that. I'm just throwing it up there because I've read it today from somebody who I know has and does get information from United, and if Real Madrid do genuinely show an interest in De Gea, and De Gea wants to go, and we get 70 million, we haven't got to buy a replacement, you bring Henderson in, who's been very, very good, and you spend the 70 million elsewhere. With Partey staying at Atletico, what do you think about Calvin Phillips from Leeds as a long-term replacement for Matic? We need a proper DM in the summer, says Samarth Sidhu. I'll be very surprised, Samarth, if we do go and sign a centre defensive midfielder in the summer. I don't think we will. But I agree that we do need one. Mark, I've got this feeling City and Spurs will break Ollie's luck like those fixtures saved his job earlier in the season. Life will come full circle. It is really interesting, Cigar, isn't it? It's really interesting that the Premier League has thrown up. Like you said, sorry. I remember at the start of December, I will tell you. I don't need to lie anyway. I was talking to Jordy, who does a lot of the graphics and works on the United stand, and we were talking at the start of December, just before United played Spurs, and they were playing City at the weekend. I think that's how it went, or was it the other way around? Anyway, we were talking and we were saying we might want to prepare for another busy Christmas with another manager. And Jordy was like, "What do you think? What do you think?" And I said, "I think if he loses to Spurs and he loses to City, they'll sack him." And we were both sat there, and I said, "I don't want this to happen. I want to have a nice Christmas, and I don't want United replacing a manager at Christmas again. It's just chaotic." And he went and won both games, and nobody thought he could, and he did. Now, it's not quite the same this time. I don't think anybody's saying we're going to lose those 2 games. Everyone says we're going to beat City, and everyone's thinking at home against we're going to beat Spurs next week, and everyone's thinking at home against City, we can do it. So I don't think he's going to lose both games. I think we could draw both games, and that would probably really dent our top 4 hopes, but I don't think he's going to lose both games. Harry Burns says, "You keep talking about the lowest point total, but is that not the worst team without is this not the worst team without Bruno? So surely it's no surprise it's the lowest points total." Harry, I agree with you. I think if you take Bruno Fernandes out of this Manchester United side, then you do have a totally different team, as we've seen this season. It's not great. But yeah, look, I'm very excited about the game tomorrow. I've said it myself, and I'm sure a lot of people are as well. And I hope that we can win it. But it's going to be interesting. It will be interesting. I don't know whether De Bruyne is fit. I mean, that's one of the things I did want to talk about tonight as well. The Harry Maguire has apparently been past fit for the game tomorrow. This doesn't surprise me about Harry Maguire, and I almost have a concern about this, because already in the last week we've had injury scares. We didn't think Martial was playing this time last week, and he did play against Everton. We didn't think Maguire was going to play after turning his ankle, but he is going to play. And this is not... He actually missed one of the Man City games last time and then was back quicker than expected. I like Harry Maguire, and I think he's a very important player. And I think that he was fantastic against Everton last week. It doesn't surprise me that Harry Maguire's back for this game, but I just hope he's not playing through the pain barrier, if that makes sense. I hope he's not risking further injury, because Harry Maguire, I don't know whether I've said this on a show, no player in the Premier League has played more minutes than Harry Maguire this season. He's played a ridiculous amount of football. And he's just played a ridiculous amount of football. No footballer should be playing the amount of games he's played. He should be getting a rest. And Solskjaer even said on Thursday night, that he's only missing this game because he's injured. I'd already told him he was going to play. So Ollie just will not rest this player. And I think whatever happens with United and whatever happens with Solskjaer, this is only my personal opinion, but whatever happens with Solskjaer and whatever happens with Manchester United, he has got to learn to deal with players better. His rotation is not the level of a Manchester United footballer or a top 4 side. He burns his players into the ground, and he does it for his own benefit. And that's fine, because, you've got to look after yourself. But in the long term, it won't help you. In the short term, it will, but in the long term, it won't. Like somebody said, all right, he burnt his players out. He beat Man City and he beat Spurs at the start of December. But if he doesn't win, if they both beat us now, it was all for nothing. You've got to be a little bit careful with your players. And we've lost Rashford because he wasn't careful. We've lost Pogba because he wasn't careful. We've seen Dan James burn out because he got played too much. Wan-Bissaka's burning out a couple of times. He's played constantly. Harry Maguire this year has already had a couple of scares. So I just think he does need to be a little bit careful. And what baffles me here is, I don't ever want to see Phil Jones in a football shirt. It's not personal. He's just not. He gives me palpitations. He's a scary defender. But he is a player that's on very good money at Manchester United. Very good money. And we never see him play. And I wonder why did we give him a contract then? there's no point in Phil Jones. That's what some people would say anyway. But there's no point in having Phil Jones at Manchester United if you're not actually going to play him every now and again. But we don't seem to want to do that. So I think Harry Maguire will be fine. But longer term, I have been a bit worried this last week. We've seen Martial have a scare, Dan James get injured, Wan-Bissaka get injured, Harry Maguire get injured, all in the space of a week. Now, hopefully, that's just a one-off. But you know with United's fitness records that we're probably going to have more of these. Ollie is a better manager than Mourinho. Agree, says Modder Girl. Oh, yeah, you're a sod with that question, so you are. Ollie's a better manager than Mourinho. We'll see next week. I think that... Look, there's no manager in the Premier League that's better than Mourinho. Pep could have a go. Klopp not yet. On career. On now, most of the Premier League managers are better than Mourinho, because Mourinho should be doing better with that team than he is. I know he cries about no Kane and no Son, but he should still be doing better than he is. That team has still got a lot of good players in it. So at the moment, I would say, yeah, Solskjaer is a better manager than Mourinho. There's not a lot in it, but he is better. But Mourinho is the better career manager. 70 million would cover Grealish and would make business sense considering we are strong in the goalkeeper department. And I think you're right, our budget is thin, Muzzy Lights. Well, I think we're talking about the De Gea thing there. If there's any truth in that, and I've got to be honest, I don't necessarily think that there is, but if there is any truth in that, United would have to treat it as a business decision. If De Gea was adamant that he wanted to go and Real Madrid had the money for De Gea, then you would have to just take it as a business decision and say, look, we've got a keeper that can come in and replace him for free. Romero's still going to be here. You use the 70 million to go and buy Grealish, I agree. We need to stop risking players. 5 at the back tomorrow, says Alex Golden. What are we thinking, actually? What are we thinking about tomorrow? How do you think we will line up tomorrow? Do you think we will play 5 at the back, or do you think we'll go 4-2-3-1? It's interesting because in the preview, I looked at that, and we've played them 3 times this season. When we played them away and we won, we played 4-2-3-1. I mean, we did have Rashford. That made a big difference. When we played them and lost to them, I think we played a 4-2-3-1 as well. And then when we went to their place and beat them, we played 5 at the back, 1-0. So, yeah, I mean, look, I just think we're going to play 5 at the back. And it's only a hunch. I think we're going to play 5 at the back because he didn't play Williams against Derby and he played Shaw. And I thought, he can't be starting Williams in a back 4 against City. He can't drop Luke Shaw, who's been brilliant. He's clearly going to play both of them. It's got to be a back 5. So I think Shaw will play as a left-sided centre-back. That's my theory. I think it'll be a 5-3-2. Midfield 3, probably Matic holding with Fred and Bruno. And, I mean, that would mean dropping McTominay, Agallo and Martial up front. So that's what I think it will be. I can't see him not playing Matic. And I can't see him dropping Fred. So McTominay would be on the bench. But then I can't see him dropping McTominay either. So maybe he'll do the diamond again. But I don't think the diamond works well at Old Trafford. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how he does it. Irwar says it will be 4-3-1-2 diamonds. So we'll see how that works out. But I do think it will be interesting. Sam Ormerod says, Dean Henderson has kept 10 clean sheets for Ollie. That's equivalent of his missus on her way back from the shops with a bag of Purcell. Okay, says Sam. All right. Okay, move on. Just an interesting story that I saw today as well about Tahith Chong and Everton being interested, but Inter still think they've won that race. I've sort of given up on what's going on with Chong and Gomez. I think it's a story that sort of gets swept under the carpet to avoid what is actually a very embarrassing cock-up by United. The Chong and Gomez thing. All that I ever think about with Chong and Gomez is the tour in the summer and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer being asked about losing Lukaku and Sanchez and Ole saying these boys are ready, talking about Chong and Gomez, and then he's never used them. So either he was absolutely lying or something went wrong along the way. But both of those players both of these players that are ready to replace Chong and Lukaku in the first team squad and have not been used at all are both walking out the door for nothing. Players that were part of our future are walking out the door for nothing. Now, I don't blame Solskjaer for that, because I've seen Herrera walk out the door for nothing, which I thought was disgusting. I've seen this happen with United a lot. Contract negotiations at Manchester United are a bloody disgrace, to be honest with you. The way we treat our squad, not new signings, not players that we want to get rid of, the way we treat our squad, whether it's De Gea, whether it's Fellaini, whether it's Mata, whether it's Martial, whether it's Herrera, whether it's Chong, whether it's Gomez, we've got a very, very strong history of letting current squad players contracts run down to save money, and I think it's disgusting. And I don't know how good Gomez and Chong are going to be, but we were told they were ready, and they clearly are not part of the plans for whatever reason. And I think it's a real shame that we haven't invested in them this season when there's been opportunities to do. I think every game that Lingard and Pereira has been given, and every game that Lingard and Pereira have been given a chance, was a wasted opportunity for Gomez and Chong, because they quite literally couldn't have done any worse. So, and I'm surprised Solskjaer didn't learn that lesson at least 3 or 4 months ago. Look, it's a shame it's not worked out for Lingard and Pereira, but it hasn't, and they've been given numerous chances. They've had, if they get sold or if they stay at Manchester United, they can never say they weren't given chances. They've been given so many chances this season, and I just think Gomez could not have done any worse than Lingard. Chong could not have done any worse than Pereira. And yet Lingard and Pereira have constantly been given the chances because of what? I don't know. Just a theory. Do you think he could play Williams at right back if Wan-Bissaka is injured, says Ross Gallagher? Yes, he definitely could, Ross. I think that's a very, very good point. I would imagine he'll play Delot, but he could play Williams at right back. Is that the reason he didn't play him against Derby? You might be onto something. We'll see. Score prediction for tomorrow, says Chris Morley. I don't even know what I said in the preview. I do feel that there's an element of bonus ball to this game, because as long as if Chelsea win tomorrow, they're 6 points clear of us, so it puts a bit of pressure onto us, and we're going to know the score before the game. If Chelsea beat Everton tomorrow and go 6 points ahead of us, I'll be a bit concerned about 4th place if we lose to City, and I'll be a bit concerned if we draw. I think it puts a pressure on us. That Everton result last week becomes a bad result if Chelsea beat Everton tomorrow, because they'll go 6 points clear of us if we lose to City. So I think a lot depends on the Chelsea result. Part of me thinks Chelsea won't beat Everton. I think Everton have done very well. They were unlucky at Arsenal. They got a draw out of us. Chelsea are just not a good team at the moment. So I'll be surprised if Chelsea beat Everton tomorrow. So as long as Chelsea don't win tomorrow, I think a draw against Man City won't throw us out of the top 4. It won't. So I'm at the moment I'm thinking a draw, but I definitely think we can win. I definitely think we can win this game. I think City are so vulnerable at the back, and we're better going forward, and we're defending quite well at the moment. I don't see, famous last words, I don't see City scoring more than 2 goals at Old Trafford. And I think we can score 2 goals against them. So I think a draw, maybe 2-2, 1-1 is what the score will be. But if we're brave, we could win it, because I think our defence is playing well at the moment. So yeah. And De Gea has been keeping a lot of clean sheets at the moment. Do you think this Man United team can beat Real Madrid, says Ziad? I think it's an irrelevant Ziad. I think neither us or Real Madrid are anywhere where we want to be at the moment. So whether we can beat them or not, what does it mean? What does it matter? It's a bit like I said last night, isn't it? That PSG memory that United were talking about yesterday, I actually hadn't really noticed that Manchester United official Twitter account had gone on about it. I saw Rashford had, and I thought, well, at the end of the day, Marcus Rashford's injured. He's got a lot of time on his hands. He's talking about a goal a year ago that was a great night. Manchester United Football Club shouldn't be. That was the first knockout stage of the Champions League, and we won, and then we got knocked out. It's not something to celebrate a year on. It isn't. It is small-minded, and it's a small club mentality to do that. And I that's why I'm not interested in whether we can beat Real Madrid. I'd be more interested about when can we beat Liverpool? When can we beat Man City? Can we beat Man City tomorrow? Because these are teams that I think City or Liverpool will win the Champions League. Did you watch the Everton second half? Terrible going forward though, Mark, says Bits in it. Yeah, I think Everton's problem is quality in the final third. You're right. Do you think City will play a false 9 again and fill the midfield with the first leg of the Carabao Cup, says Kian Quinn? I think more and more if you go back to that statement from Ollie, convincing attacking front foot, free-flowing football with flair, I want to see a bit of that tomorrow. If that's what the vision is, I want to see a bit of that tomorrow. I don't want to care about what City are going to do. I know what City are going to do. Lots of possession, lots of movement around the box, trying to carve open opportunities. Now, if we sit back and let them do that and hit them on the break, what are we evolving to be? We've got Bruno Fernandes. I think we should tomorrow be taking a step further up the pitch and saying, look, we know what you're going to do, but this is what we're going to try and do because your back four's weak. That's what United should do. Go on the front foot a bit. But if we sit back, we'll struggle, I think. Do you think Bruno and Fred are tired from how much Ollie plays them, says Purge? I don't think they are at the moment. I think it is a danger. You've got to keep an eye on that. But I think at the moment they should be all right. Lawrence says, is De Bruyne injured? I don't know. I know that he's due back, but whether they'll bring him back into that game, I don't know. I mean, for Man City, it's interesting, isn't it? They've got United on Sunday, and then they've got Arsenal on Wednesday in the Premier League. And then they've got Real Madrid the week after. And I think Man City's priority is the Champions League. The Premier League, they can't really catch Liverpool, and Leicester aren't going to catch them either. So the Premier League is a bit of a... Would he risk De Bruyne just because it's a Manchester derby in the Premier League? I don't know. I think he might think longer term and think, do I need to risk De Bruyne? And Paul Robinson says De Bruyne is 50-50. I'll be very surprised if he picks him, to be honest with you, tomorrow. If City flood the midfield again, shouldn't he play 4-4-2 diamond to level the amount midfielders, says Humza Goose. I think it'd be interesting. I think Pep's already shown that he can play a different way against United if they try and hit him on the break. But I'm very excited about it. I think United have got an opportunity, and I think it's an opportunity that they do need to take. The thing is, you can in life you can sit there knowing there's another bus going to come, or you can try and get the bus. You know what I mean? You know, sometimes you're a couple of minutes early and you can get the bus earlier if you run for it, or do you wait and think, I'll just get the one after like I normally do? I think United have got to run for that bus tomorrow and make sure they get it early, because the Premier League, I know we can lose tomorrow and still get top four. Especially if Chelsea draw tomorrow and we lose tomorrow, we've still got a chance, because we can beat Spurs, we can beat Sheffield United, we can beat some of the teams that we've got to play in April. Our toughest run of games really are now. So if we beat Man City tomorrow, not only is it 3 massive points, but it's 3 massive confidence points. If you can beat City, you can beat anybody on the run-in. So I think tomorrow is an opportunity for United. It's not, if we miss the opportunity, there will be more. But if we take this opportunity, then things will be easier. We'll have more room for error, if so to speak. So I think United have got to take the opportunity tomorrow, especially because it's at Old Trafford. I think we've got to take the opportunity tomorrow, and I think we can do. We can do it. It's going to be a big test. I think every game's Ollie's biggest test. I think that's Solskjaer's biggest test. And it is Solskjaer's biggest test because it's against a very, very good team. What have we learnt over the last month? I've learned that I enjoy watching Manchester United a lot more than I have done for a year because Bruno's in the team and we've got a number 10. How good are we? Well, when we went 1-0 down against Everton last week, we were good for about half an hour, and then the second half we were dreadful. Against Chelsea, I felt it was a very equal game, and Chelsea didn't take their chances and we did. Against Watford, I think we were good. We were good against Watford. Away in Bruges, we were awful. At home against Bruges, it was against 10 men. Against Derby, we did a very professional job. So the last month has been good, but there's also been, well, that could have gone the other way. I think tomorrow there won't be any margin for error, and it's a big test. And we could pass it with flying colours, or we could knock ourselves back to uncertainty again. I have a feeling that Axel will play at centre-back tomorrow, says Alfie Joshua. I'd be absolutely stunned if Axel Twanzebe played in the game tomorrow, because Lindelof's been playing well, Maguire will be back, Eric Bay's been playing well, so I think Twanzebe is fourth in line at the moment. And he's got to get back fit. I don't think we'll see much of Twanzebe between now and the end of the season, really. I don't think there's going to be much opportunity, unless we pick up injuries. But Twanzebe's ahead of Phil Jones. Phil Jones is now the fifth choice centre-back. There is no hype. It does not feel like a derby, and I don't know why. It doesn't feel like a big match, says Mohammed. I don't know why either. I don't know whether I'm missing the hype, but I don't feel the hype. I mean, I'm on social media a lot. I'm sure many of you are. I don't feel the hype for this game. I don't know why it is. I don't know whether it's this bigger picture with this virus and everything. I don't know. Interestingly enough, if you're interested in that, which to be honest with you, everybody's reading about it. On Monday, the Premier League are meeting with the government to discuss what the future of the Premier League is going to be. I was watching England play in the Six Nations today. Ka-ching, beat Wales, but we are not playing. The Six Nations is not going to get completed because Ireland didn't play Italy and England won't be playing Italy, and those games probably won't get played at all, if ever. So the Six Nations has become a farce. So the Premier League, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Some people are saying now, well, this is no worse than the flu. It's just been overhyped. Some people are saying it's going to cause chaos for months. I don't know. I don't know the answer to it. But the thing is, if you do say, right, we're going to play games behind closed doors, what about the people I worry about if you're going to play games behind closed doors is all these pubs and businesses around Old Trafford, 75,000 people there, the revenues around there. It'd just be economically a disaster. But if it needs to be done, then you can't go against the advice, can you? So will we be moving to behind? Will this game be the last game of the Premier League weekend with fans in it? Man City can give us some advice. They do it every week, don't they? But for Manchester United, it'd be very weird for everybody to watch games that are behind closed doors. And does that mean that every game will be shown on the TV? Because not every game is shown on the TV, is it? So I think United's next game that's not on the TV is it someone like at the start, Brighton, I think it is, or something like that. No, we've played Brighton at home. But if no fans can go to the game, surely it will mean that every game gets. I don't know what's going to happen. We're in a weird time, and maybe that's why the derby isn't getting the hype it is, because people are just uncertain. Mark, I'm worried Sterling is going to expose our right side tomorrow. Wan-Bissaka out. Also, Pep's tactical ability may be too much for Ollie. Cheers, mate. I've got a feeling Wan-Bissaka will play tomorrow. Yeah, I've got a feeling he'll play tomorrow. As Paul said, the ramifications could be far and wide. People count on that income from matches, says Captain Nat. Oh, look, mate, I could talk about that all night with you. I worry about my local pub. Like, it was empty last night, virtually, for a Friday night. Last week, it was full. So people are staying away from things. Businesses don't have reserves like that. They're reliant on their pubs doing well, and if they don't, they end up closing. So it's a very, very, very concerning time. Thanks to everybody who watched the chart show, by the way. If you've not watched this morning's chart show, make sure you do go and check it out. It's becoming a bit of a cult classic on the United Stand, and I really enjoy doing it. The top 10 United players of the week in a traditional sort of top of the pop style where we count them down 10 to 1. Fred was number 1 for 3 weeks. Did he make it to number 1 this week? You can check that out on the chart show. But look, I am going to say that Gunnar Station, he could be an Arsenal fan, he says, putting aside rivalries or perceived jealousy to Liverpool, do you think this Premier League season has been the worst? Too many teams underperforming. Look, I'll say it through gritted teeth. Liverpool have been fantastic this season, and there's no escaping from that. But there's also no escaping from the fact that this is the worst Premier League season in a long time. That's not Liverpool's fault. And Liverpool would have won the title in any season anyway. So, no, they wouldn't have won it in any season. I think if they'd come up against us in 99 or 08 or Chelsea in 05 or Arsenal in 98, then they would have had... There would have been a very interesting title race. But they would have been a title contender in every Premier League season. They have been that good. Their form's been very, very good. But they've had a lot of points through no fault of their own from shit teams. And we're one of them. You cannot sit here and say this is a very competitive Premier League season when Chelsea have lost 10 games, when this fourth place will be won with somebody around 60 points. It's been bad. Like, look at how bad Spurs are. Look at Wolves today. They couldn't even beat Brighton. There's no consistency. And Wolves have been really good at times this season. And Chelsea have been very good at times this season. And Leicester have been very good at times this season. Even we've been good occasionally. But nobody's got any consistency. And I'm sorry, if you haven't got consistency, you're not a good side. And below Liverpool, there has been no consistency in this league season. Even Man City have had a bad season, even though they're comfortably second, because by their standards, they've had no consistency either. It's been a dreadful season. The only teams that really come out of this season with any credibility are Liverpool, obviously, and Sheffield United as well, and even Burnley to a certain extent have shown consistency. But to be fair to Sheffield United, on a normal season, they would be being praised in 8th. Because that's where they would normally be with the points total they've got. They're fighting for 4th because the rest of the teams that should have 4th on lockdown are way underperforming. And I'm talking Arsenal, Spurs, United, Chelsea. They have all 4 teams, big clubs, are about 10 points off where they should be. So, yeah, it's not been a very good season, to be honest. Mark, I love the Shark Show. Don't you think it's sad that we don't have an attacker at number 1 for a month, says June Botha. Well, I think that's down to chance creation, and hopefully that will change in the future. I think if Rashford was around, he'd have something to say about it. Please do smash a like on the video, anyway, everybody. And check out the chart show. You'll enjoy that. I will see you tomorrow. We'll be live at 3:30 with the team news for the derby. I'm really looking forward to that. And I've got to hold my hands up. There's something in me. I felt it there. There's something in me. I think it's all this uncertainty in the world that's not allowing us to totally get excited. But I will be watching. I am looking forward to the game. We'll have the road trip on the way up there with Flex and the boys as well. Who has a brighter future ahead, Spurs or Arsenal, says PAVC. I've got no idea, and I actually don't care. I still think Spurs could have the brighter future because Arsenal need to spend money that Spurs have. I don't know whether Arsenal have got the money. Thanks everyone for watching. Speak to you all tomorrow. Please do smash a like on the video on your way out, and please do check out the chart show from this morning on the homepage. I'll see you tomorrow. Let's do it tomorrow. Let's hope, first of all, Chelsea drop points, and then let's go and get some ourselves. Speak to you soon.